What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Campaign Grind Podcast. I am Pedro Diaz, I am your host, and this is the Campaign Grind. Guys, as I start every single episode, thank you guys very much for tuning into this week's episode of the Campaign Grind. This podcast is for everybody. We do not discriminate. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a politician, you're a candidate, you're a consultant, a lobbyist, whatever it is you are, I guarantee that you will find some gold nuggets on this podcast that you will be able to implement into your everyday life. So once again, thank you guys very much for the support. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. The only thing I do ask of you is if you find any value whatsoever on this episode, please share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Spread the wealth. We actually got a very neat episode lined up for you guys today. Our co-host, Ray Valdez, wasn't able to make it here today. He had a prior commitment. Ray, we miss you, but next time you'll be here. We got a pretty neat episode lined up for you guys today. We're actually going to be talking about a couple different topics, interesting topics that a lot of candidates, especially first-time candidates, always ask. So if you're running for office or you've run for office before and you've lost or whatever, these are actual tips and tricks that you could implement into your next campaign or your next venture. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. The first topic is actually time management. I get a lot of candidates that ask me, it's way too early, or tell me it's way too early to start canvassing, or it's way too early to start raising some cash. And what I got to say about that, that is all bullshit. It's all BS. It is never too early to start raising cash. It is never too early to start canvassing. It is never too early to start meeting the voters. The reason why is because you want to make sure you already cultivate your base. You want to make sure that you are basically setting the tone for the campaign, okay? You want other people to start playing catch up to you. You don't want other people to start setting the tone and you start playing catch up. So it is never too early to start raising cash. It is never too early to start canvassing. The more doors you knock on, the better it is going to be for your campaign. But most importantly, it's all about repetition and saturation. So if you're able to hit and knock on those doors 3, 4, 5 times, that goes to your benefit. So you want to start as early as possible canvassing, raising cash, and basically getting your name out there. Because what's going to happen is maybe about a couple of months before the election, if it's a high-profile race, if it's a very important seat, don't get me wrong, every elected seat is important. But there's some seats that draw more attention to others. So if there is any type of polling and you've been canvassing for the past couple of months prior to the poll being conducted, chances are your name ID is going to skyrocket. And what happens with that is that once your name ID starts skyrocketing, donors and people that have interest in your particular municipality, district, or anything like that are going to want to start donating to your campaign. So you want to make sure that you have the time to start early. Not the time to start early, but that you actually start early, okay? So it all kind of works hand in hand. It kind of works together. You start canvassing early. People start recognizing who you are. They start understanding your message. It appeals to them. They like you. When they get polled, chances are they're going to go off and talk to you. So once again, it's never too early to start early. It's never too soon to start canvassing. It's never too soon to start raising cash. Now, I get asked about the mailers, and I get asked about the peaking too high and stuff like that when it comes to time management in your campaign. I want to address the mailers first. Depending on how much money your campaign has, I'm a big fan of mailers. The reason why is because they cost money, but they're not as expensive as TV or anything like that. So I like sending mailers, birthday cards, thank you notes, sorry I missed you little messages and stuff like that to the actual voters, because it's somewhat of a personal touch. I like sending things out to the voters. I like the voters to constantly be getting home and opening up their mailbox and getting something from the candidate. And what I really like most is actually when the voter actually calls the candidate back. Because a little tidbit here is if you're sending out birthday cards, you're sending out mailers, you're sending out Thanksgiving, holiday cards, or anything like that, make sure you put your email or you put your phone number. The reason why is because you want the voters to call you personally or send you an email thanking you for that actual card. So I like sending the mailers. If depending on how much money your campaign has, I would send as many mailers as you can or as little mailers as you can, depending how much money the campaign has. Like I said, birthday cards are great. An intro piece is definitely very important if you're running for office. An absentee ballot chaser is very important. We like doing election day and early voting reminder mailers, but like I said, not many campaigns have a lot of money that they could do all those mailers. So depending on how much money your campaign has, budget X amount of money for those mailers. Now, how do you keep with the momentum for your campaign? There's a lot of times that candidates peak way too early. And what I mean by peak too early is that, let's say that their election is a year from now. A lot of candidates get what we call in Spanish desesperado. We get desperate. We get desperate. So they want to start, being in front of everybody constantly, 12, 14, 16 months before the election, which is fine, okay? But right now, 12, 14, 16 months before the election, what you got to be doing in your campaign is meeting as many voters as possible and raising as much cash. But what happens is a lot of candidates think that they need to be in front of the voter. They need to be in the news for good reasons or bad reasons or anything like that. Why? To help them out with fundraising. I do not agree with that at all. The reason why is because you need to peak at the right time. Your campaign needs to peak at the right time. Remember that. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Your campaign needs to peak at the right time. If your campaign peaks 12 months, 14 months, 16 months before the election, I can almost assure you your campaign will not peak when you need to peak, which is at least 30 days before the election. Okay? Once again, you do not want to peak too early. You want your campaign to peak just at the right time, just in time for absentee ballots, just in time for early voting, and right just in time for election day. So don't get desperate in your campaign. I know exactly how it is. Like I said, as many of you guys know, I've ran in the past. I've ran for office. I'm not one of these consultants that's going to tell you to do something that I haven't done myself. Everything I'm telling you is because I've done it in my own personal campaign, and we've had great success with it in the different campaigns that we've run. So don't peak too early. This is time management. Once again, when is a good time to start? It is never too early to start your campaign. It is never too early to start canvassing, and it's definitely never too early to start raising cash. The quicker and the sooner you get out there in front of the voters, the quicker and the sooner they're going to start accepting you as a candidate. Raising cash, like I said, it all works hand in hand. Once an actual campaign and an election gets closer, what's going to happen is people are going to start polling. They're going to start paying more attention to the race. And then if your name is up there in the top 1 or top 2 of the vote getters, chances are the money's going to be coming into your campaign. But don't just wait for a poll to come in to start asking donors and lobbyists for money. It is never too early for that. The mailers, like I said, mailers, depending on how much money the campaign has, holiday mailers, Thanksgiving mailers, birthday card mailers, thank you mailers, intro, early voting, absentee ballot chaser, and election day mailers, those are all very important. So depending on how much money your campaign has, that is how you should determine how many mailers you actually send out. The next topic we're going to be talking about, we actually did a segment on this probably about a month or two ago, negative campaigning. Okay, I get asked this a lot of times. Does negative campaigning work? And to be honest with you, it does work. It is a necessary evil in this business. Me, I do not like doing negative campaigning. I like running on the issues. I like talking about what the candidate's going to do, the positive messaging. But negative campaigning is a necessary evil in any single campaign you get involved in. Should you point out the flaws of your opponent? Before we jump into that, I am a big believer, and I tell all of my clients this: you need to define your opponent before your opponent defines you. What do I mean by that? You need to make sure you paint the picture of your opponent before your opponent has the opportunity to paint whatever picture he or she wants of you. So, I do believe negative campaigning works. It is a necessary evil. I believe that pointing out the flaws of your opponent and emphasizing on your strengths is going to help out the electorate make a decision once they get their absentee ballot, once they go out to early voting, or once they go out into that voting booth on election day. So I am a big believer of defining your opponent before they define you. So take it with a grain of salt, take it however you want, but negative campaigning, it is a necessary evil. It does work. You need to pound the hell out of your positive messaging. but you definitely need to do a little bit of opposition research and figure out exactly what your opponent is or isn't saying. So like that, you could capitalize on that. Either you or a pack, depending on whatever you want to do. Like I said, me personally, we let packs that we are not associated with take care of that if they decide to get involved in any particular campaign. We do not personally like doing negative campaigning. There are some candidates that ask us to do negative campaigning, and at the end of the day, we tell them, we give them our little disclaimer, listen, we're not big fans of it. This does not mean you're going to win the election, but you are the client. This is what you want. That's perfectly fine. So negative campaigning, does it work? Absolutely it does. I am not a big fan of it, but most importantly, you need to define your opponent before he or she defines you. Next topic we're going to be talking about is, and this is actually a pretty neat photo, because one of the things we do for, not photo, a pretty neat topic point is, we're going to be talking about photos, as you can tell. One of the neat points is every time we sign on a new client, we actually do a campaign photo shoot for them. The reason why is because we like having a variety of photos. A lot of candidates that say, oh, well, go to my business profile on LinkedIn or go to my Facebook page or my Twitter or my Instagram and get those pictures from there. But the reality is that those pictures, one, are low quality, two, they're maybe taken on a phone, on a smartphone, iPhone, Android, whatever it is, and the lighting may not be okay. But number three, once we actually pull those images from online and we blow them up to fit on a 6x11, 8.5x11, or 11x17 flyer, we got to blow that picture up. So it's going to start looking pixelated. It's not going to look as sharp or as crisp. So what's going to happen there is, image is everything, not only in the professional world, not only in the business world, but most importantly in the political world. So we always do campaign photo shoots for our clients for that exact same reason. We're able to stage the client, we're able to tell the client what to wear, what not to wear, you know, different poses and action shots, talking to the different voters, knocking on doors and canvassing. We're at a park with some families and their children. So we like doing that so we could paint a message and we could put together a message for the campaign. Different mailers will have different messaging. That's one thing that we do very different than most consultants, is we like to tell a story of the candidate, which is why we do these photo shoots with the candidates, so we have enough material to put together for these mailers or these digital ads for Facebook, social media, online ads, or Google. So why you need a good photo? The good photo serves to highlight and enhance the campaign's message. So once again, if you're running for office, you know, in a small town where everybody knows each other, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're taking photos with key influential people within your community. So like that, you could be able to put it on mailers, you could be able to put it on your website, Facebook, social media, even on digital ads, even maybe through email marketing. So you do want to take some photos so like that people can start associating who the candidate is with a message. At the end of the day, people are, I'm not going to say they're lazy, but people would much rather, one, watch a video, two, see a picture, and three, the least thing people are going to want to do is actually read. So you got to be more visual. Your campaign needs to be visual, which is exactly why you need to make sure you have good photos for your campaign, telling the people exactly what your campaign is about. You want to tell the people when they receive their mail, once they open up their email or they see something on Facebook, you want them to see what your campaign message is all about, what your campaign is all about, just by looking at that photo. Because what people do not want to do, people do not have time to read the emails, people do not have time to read the Facebook posts or the mailers or anything like that. People are more visual. You know, if you're able to send out an email and link it to a YouTube video, just how we do with these podcasts or with these episodes, we send it out to people, they click on it, they see exactly what your campaign is about, what you want to do, who's helping you out and stuff like that. People are more visual. So you need to make sure that you have a very good campaign photo. And very important, a lot of people say, I'm going to use a campaign photo for this, but I'm not going to use it for that, for my social media or whatever the case may be. You got to keep everything consistent. Like I tell all of our clients, you are a brand. You're just like Coca-Cola, Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever brand. You got to be consistent. So whatever headshot you use for your campaign, make sure you use it for all your social media platforms. Make sure you have it for your email signature. Make sure you have it for your mailers, so on and so forth. So a campaign photo is very important. It sounds like something so stupid, but the reality is a campaign photo goes a long way. There's some negative mailers that you get those Perfect example, negative mailers. If you've ever received negative mailers, you see that the photo of the actual opponent is kind of pixelated, blurry, very ugly, very grungy, very dingy looking type of thing, very ugly. So that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you have a nice professional photo for your campaign. You want people to just look at the mailer, look at the ad, and see exactly what your campaign has to say. I'm sorry about that, guys. We are getting questions. Yeah, we got a couple of questions there. If you have any questions whatsoever, please give me a call, 305-860-1010, 305-860-1010, or shoot me an email, pedro@diazcampaigns.com, pedro@diazcampaigns.com. So we got our first question that was there on the phone, and I'm sorry about that, guys. Iris, what do we got?
We have Laura, and she wants to know, is it better to take pictures outside or in the studio?
Okay, well, now that we're actually talking about the photos, Laura asked if it's better to take pictures inside in a studio or outside. I am a very big fan of taking outside photos. The reason why is, like I said before, I like having those action shots. You know, maybe the candidate at the park, you know, swinging his kids on the swing, or helping another child go down the slide, or maybe walking his or her dog. So I'm a very big fan of taking those pictures outside. One, it depends on the type of the time that you're going to be taking those photos. You don't want to go at 12 o'clock because then the sun's going to be right above you. It's going to look ugly. I'm not a professional photographer, but I've done several of these sessions. That's why I know about these things. You kind of want to do those photo shoots, especially if you're going to do it outside where it's not a controlled environment. You're going to want to do those around 3 to 5 o'clock, 4, 5, 6 o'clock at the latest, where it's not too dark, where the sun is just nice, and then the coloring is nice. It takes one, your photographer is going to love you for that because it's going to be less editing, and it's going to cost your campaign less money. Like I said, I'm not a professional photographer, but we've done several of these sessions, and yes, I am a big fan of doing it outside where the actual candidate is communicating and participating in what's going on within the community. So, guys, once again, if you have any questions, give me a call, 305-860-1010, 305-860-1010. Shoot me an email, pedro@diazcampaigns.com, pedro@diazcampaigns.com. And one of the last things we're going to be talking about is building relationships. This business, as in any business you get involved in, is all about relationships. So right now you may be running against 3, 4, 5 different people. But, you know, yes, you guys are competing for that position. You got to stay cordial because you know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to win, other people are going to lose. You're going to have to maintain that relationship. You want to maintain that good relationship with whomever it is that wins if it's not you. And they're going to want to maintain a good relationship with you if they are the ones that do not win. This business is all about relationships. This world is all about who you know. So you don't want to burn any bridges. You want to make sure that you're cordial with everybody. Of course, now if they kind of like fuck shit up and piss you off or vice versa, then that's a whole different story, guys. And I'm sorry for the language, but that's the truth. So just be cordial with everybody. You got to build relationships. This business is all about relationships. It's all about who you know. You know, today you guys are running against each other. Tomorrow you guys may be helping each other run for another position, or he or she may be helping you run for another position, or vice versa. So, guys, this is the tail end of this episode of the Campaign Grind. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, once again, 305-860-1010, 305-860-1010. Shoot me an email, pedro@diazcampaigns.com, pedro@diazcampaigns.com. Once again, if you found any value whatsoever in this podcast, please share it with your friends, family, colleagues, anybody. That is all I ask. So, guys, thank you guys very much for tuning into this week's episode of the Campaign Grind. I am Pedro Diaz, signing out.